David Ross wiped grease from his hands and reached for his thermos. The ventilation shaft he'd been fixing could wait 5 minutes. He twisted the cap off and took a long drink, sighing with satisfaction as the hot liquid went down. Around him, the usual noise of orbital station Gamma 7 hummed along, metal groaning, air recyclers whirring, boots clanging on grated floors. He didn't notice the Centauran engineer across the corridor freeze mid-step. He didn't see the Delphi technician's face turn 3 shades paler through her tank. He absolutely missed the way every sensor panel within 20 meters started flashing red. David just enjoyed his coffee and got back to work. 10 minutes later, alarms screamed through the station. Commander Yilnath had been reviewing supply reports when her desk lit up like a festival display. All 4 of her arms moved at once, pulling up screens and silencing alerts. Chemical contamination warnings, atmospheric anomalies, biological hazard flags, all centered on Maintenance Sector 7. Report. She snapped into her communicator. Commander, we have a Class 7 corrosive agent detected in the air filtration system, the security officer said, his voice tight. Multiple species reporting respiratory distress. Sensors indicate the source is near the human maintenance worker's location. Yilnath's secondary arms gripped her desk. Humans have been on the station for 3 months now. 3 peaceful, productive months. She'd started to think the integration was going well. Seal that sector. Full lockdown. Get hazmat teams ready. Already done, Commander. But there's something strange. The human isn't showing any signs of distress. He's still working. That made no sense. If the contamination was severe enough to affect multiple species, a human should be unconscious at minimum. Unless the human was the source that Yilnath ran for the security center. Dr. Fenn floated in her mobility tank, watching the security feeds with growing confusion. The human, David Ross, according to his file, was now eating something, just sitting on a toolbox, pulling food from a bag, completely relaxed. Meanwhile, 3 species had evacuated the adjacent corridors, and 2 were in her medical bay with burning eyes and throat irritation. Rewind the feed, she told the security officer. Show me what happened before the alerts. The footage rolled back. There. The human reached for a metal container, opened it, drank from it. The sensor readings went crazy the moment vapor escaped that container. Freeze that image. Run an analysis on the container's contents based on atmospheric samples. The computer worked for 30 seconds. The result made Dr. Finn's gills flutter in alarm. That cannot be correct. Run it again. Same result. The database showed a match to a compound used in industrial degreasing. Highly corrosive. Toxic to most carbon-based life forms. Banned in 6 sectors for use outside controlled facilities. The human had just drunk it. Commander Yilnath arrived and read the report over Dr. Finn's shoulder. Her face went through several expressions, none of them happy. Give me a diplomatic officer. Now. And someone who speaks human languages fluently. I speak English, Commander, Dr. Finn offered quietly. Good. You're coming with me. They found David Ross still in the sealed sector, now looking confused as security drones surrounded him. He raised his hands slowly. Is there a problem? He called out that Yilnath approached, staying well back from the contamination zone. Human David Ross, you are ordered to remain still. Do not open any containers. Do not consume anything. We are dealing with a chemical emergency. David looked around the empty corridor. Chemical emergency? Where? You were observed consuming a corrosive substance approximately 43 minutes ago. I was what? David's confusion looked genuine. Commander, I just had some coffee during my break. That's all. Coffee, Dr. Finn repeated, her translator struggling with the word. The liquid in your metal container? Yeah, my thermos. It keeps drinks hot. That drink, Yilnath said carefully, registered as a Class 7 industrial solvent. David stared at them. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. You're joking, right? It's just coffee. You know, ground beans, hot water, a little sugar. Beans, Dr. Finn said weakly. You consume beans. Well, we brew them. It's a beverage. Most humans drink it every day. Every day. Yilnath felt a headache forming behind her eyes. She had 2 of them now. Sir, I need you to very slowly show me this container. David shrugged and picked up his thermos. Security drones immediately locked targeting systems on him. He froze. Whoa, hey, it's just coffee. Place it on the ground and step back. He did. A drone extended a sampling arm and retreated with a small amount of liquid. The analysis came back instantly. Caffeic acid, chlorogenic acid, conic acid, dozens of alkaloids, compounds that would strip paint, molecules that would dissolve certain plastics. A pH level that made Dr. Finn's medical training scream warnings. You drink this willingly? She asked. 3 cups a day, usually. For if I'm tired. 4, Yilnath repeated numbly. Sometimes 5 on a double shift. The commander made a decision. Seal the human quarters. Full inspection. I want to know what else they're keeping on this station. Commander, with respect, I don't think, David started. You are currently contaminated with enough corrosive agents to qualify as a walking hazmat incident. Until we understand what is happening, all human sections are under quarantine. 2 hours later, Yilnath wished she'd never asked that David's locker alone contained 17 different beverages. The security team had run analysis on each one. The results read like a weapons inventory. Carbonated drinks with acid levels used in mining operations. Energy beverages with oxidizing agents found in rocket fuel. Juice boxes with citric acid concentrations that etched metal. Something called sports drink that was apparently designed to replace electrolytes, which explained why it could conduct electricity so efficiently. This one is labeled Morning Boost, Dr. Finn said, pointing at a small bottle with her tentacle. The stimulant levels would cause cardiac arrest in my species within seconds. Humans drink this in the morning? Yilnath asked. According to the label, it is part of a balanced breakfast. The commander sat down heavily. How are they alive? I don't know, Dr. Finn admitted. Their biology shouldn't be able to process these toxins. But the medical scans show they do it constantly. Their bodies are somehow adapted to neutralize these compounds. Yilnath looked at the security feed showing David still sitting patiently in quarantine, looking bored. Contact the Galactic Health Ministry, she said finally. We need experts, because either humans are the galaxy's most resilient species, or we've been sharing a station with walking chemical weapons for 3 months. Dr. Finn pulled up David's file again. Place of origin, Earth. She made a note to research what kind of planet could produce beings who drank industrial solvents for fun. The answer, she suspected, would terrify her. The crisis room filled with people who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Commander Yilnath sat at the head of the table, flanked by Dr. Finn and 3 officials from the Galactic Health Ministry. Across from them, behind a transparent containment barrier, David Ross sat looking extremely uncomfortable. This is ridiculous, he muttered, not for the first time. Please remain silent, Human Ross, said Minister Quan, a tall being covered in crystalline formations that chimed softly when he moved. We are reviewing the evidence. The evidence was David's locker contents, now spread across analysis tables like artifact from a dangerous expedition. Each beverage had its own data sheet. Each data sheet made the officials look more worried. Let's start with this one, Quan said, pointing at a silver can. You call it energy drink, yes? Yeah, that's a turbo blast, David confirmed. Gets you through long shifts. The primary active ingredient is listed as taurine, Dr. Finn read from her screen. Cross-referencing with our databases shows this compound is used as an oxidizing agent in military-grade propulsion systems. It's an amino acid, David protested. Your body makes it naturally. Human bodies, perhaps, Quan said coldly. For 17 other species, it is classified as a neural toxin. Yet you consume it voluntarily? Well, when you put it that way, it sounds bad. It is bad, Dr. Finn said, her voice rising slightly. 1 can of this beverage contains enough stimulants to cause system-wide failure in most known species. How much do you drink? Maybe 2 or 3 a week. Patrick drinks way more. He's got a whole case in his room. The officials exchanged glances. There were more humans with more dangerous substances. Yilnath pulled up another item. What about this brown liquid? Oh, that's just Coke. Just, Quan repeated. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared showing the chemical breakdown. This substance has a pH of 2.5. That is nearly as acidic as stomach acid. We use similar compounds to clean corrosion from hull plating. It's refreshing on a hot day, David said weakly. It dissolves metal, Dr. Finn stated flatly. Not quickly though, right? Nobody answered. The silence was answer enough that a junior officer, a mantis-like being named Rin, raised one foreleg hesitantly. If I may ask, Human Ross, why do you drink these things? David thought about it. They taste good? Coffee wakes you up. Energy drinks keep you going. Soda is sweet and fizzy. It's just normal stuff from Earth. Normal, Yulnath said quietly. On Earth. Rin pulled up a planetary database. Earth. Class 7 Death World. Oxygen levels toxic to most species. Gravity 1.3 times galactic standard. Extreme temperature variations. Aggressive microbial life. Predator to prey ratios unusual. Native species highly competitive. She looked up. Humans evolve here, born and raised, David said with what might have been pride. Minister Quan stood and paced, his crystals chiming with each step. Let me understand this clearly. Your planet is already hostile. Your atmosphere would poison most of us. And yet you also consume additional toxins voluntarily. I mean, we don't think of them as toxins. What do you think of them as? Beverages, David said simply. Drinks. You know, things to have with lunch or at parties. Dr. Finn was running scans of David through the barrier. Commander, his liver function is extraordinary. It's processing compounds constantly. His kidneys are filtering toxins at rates I've never seen. His entire digestive system appears designed to handle extreme chemical variations. Because of Earth, Rin said, still reading. The planet itself is extreme. So the life that evolved there had to be extreme too. This is a diplomatic nightmare, Quan announced. If one species casually consumes what others consider weapons-grade chemicals, how do we establish safety protocols? Maybe you could just ask us what's safe. David suggested. You drink rocket fuel oxidizers, Yilnath reminded him. Your judgment on safety is questionable. That's fair, David admitted. Rin approached the barrier cautiously. Human Ross, what do you consider actually dangerous to drink? Well, drain cleaner would kill you. Bleach, antifreeze, most industrial chemicals. Oh, and methanol, that'll make you blind. But ethanol is acceptable, Dr. Finn asked, pulling up another file. In moderation, sure. Beer, wine, spirits. Ethanol is a disinfectant, Quan said. We use it to sterilize medical equipment. We use it to celebrate birthdays, David countered. The door opened and Patrichin walked in, escorted by security. He looked annoyed until he saw David behind the barrier. Dave, what's going on? They dragged me out of my room and confiscated my stuff. They think our drinks are dangerous, David explained. Our drinks? You mean like the energy drinks? And the coffee? And the soda? Pretty much everything. Patrick looked at the officials. Are you serious? It's just normal drinks. We've been over this, Yilnath said tiredly. What is normal for humans is chemically extreme for everyone else. Huh, Patrick thought about this. Well, you haven't even seen the good stuff yet. Every official in the room focused on him. The good stuff? Quan asked carefully. Yeah, I've got a bottle of whiskey in my quarters. Aged 20 years. Saving it for something special. Dr. Finn pulled up her analysis pad. Define whiskey. It's a distilled alcoholic beverage. Usually around 40% alcohol by volume. This one is a single malt from Scotland. 40% ethanol, Dr. Finn said numbly. Well, yeah, sometimes higher for the stronger stuff. You drink stronger versions? Yilnath's voice climbed an octave. Special occasions only, Patrick assured her. Dave and I were going to crack it open when the station completes its mission cycle. Quan turned to Yilnath. I formally request that Beverage be brought here for analysis. Under full hazmat protocols. I'll get a team. Yilnath said. 20 minutes later, security returned with a sealed container holding one bottle. They placed it on the analysis table like it might explode. Patrick watched through the barrier. Hey, be careful with that. It's expensive. A robotic arm opened the bottle. Instantly, Sensors across the room started screaming. The smell alone triggered evacuation warnings in 3 adjacent corridors. The doctor. Finn stared at her readings. This is a flammable liquid. The vapor is intoxicating. The chemical composition could strip protective coatings. And you drink this? Slowly, Patrick said. You sip it. Appreciate the flavors. The flavors of industrial solvent. Quan demanded. The flavors of oak, peat, and craftsmanship, Patrick corrected. Rin was still taking notes. How much of this do humans typically consume? Depends on the person. Some don't drink alcohol at all. Others might have a glass or 2 in an evening. A glass, Dr. Fenn repeated, of concentrated ethanol. With ice if you're civilized. Yilnath sat back in her chair and rubbed her temples with 2 hands while the other 2 gestured at the ceiling in frustration. We need to report this to the Galactic Council. The humans aren't trying to be dangerous. They just naturally are dangerous. We're really not, David said. We're just from Earth. Exactly, Quan said. And that is the problem. Minister Quan opened a communication channel. His message was simple and terrifying, requesting emergency session. Topic: human biology and chemical tolerance. Recommendation: pending investigation, consider classification of humans as Category 4 biological hazard entities that in the barrier. David and Patrick looked at each other. Think they'll let us have our coffee back? David asked. Not looking good, buddy. Patrick thought he was helping. He really did. When the guards told him to bring the whiskey bottle to the conference room for diplomatic purposes, he figured showing them humans could handle their beverages would calm everyone down. Prove they weren't walking disasters. Just regular people who happened to like a drink now and then. When he entered the room where ministers and commanders sat in careful arrangement, he carried the bottle like a peace offering. Look, he said, setting it on the table with a solid thunk. I know everyone's worried, but this is just a nice bottle of scotch. Nothing scary about it. Here, let me show you. He started to unscrew the cap. Stop! 3 voices yelled at once. Patrick stopped. What? Do not open that container, Minister Quan said, his crystals vibrating with alarm. Not without proper ventilation and containment procedures. It's just a bottle. The last time we opened it, we had to evacuate 2 corridors, Dr. Fenn said. That seems like an overreaction, Patrick muttered, but he set the bottle down carefully. Unfortunately, he'd already loosened the cap. A small amount of liquid sloshed out, spilling across the table's surface. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the table started smoking. Oh no, Yilnath said. The protective polymer coating bubbled and peeled where the whiskey touched it. The metal underneath began to discolor. Alarms shrieked as chemical sensors detected the spill. Evacuate, Quan shouted. Full hazmat response. Officials scrambled for the exits. Dr. Fenn's tank wheeled backward so fast she nearly tipped over. Rin grabbed documents with all 6 limbs and ran. Patrick stood there, watching the chaos, completely baffled. It's just scotch. David, still behind his barrier, pressed his face against the transparent wall. Patrick, what did you do? I don't know. I just brought the bottle like they asked. Security teams in full protective gear rushed in with containment foam. They sprayed the table until the whiskey was buried under white chemical suppressant. 3 drones hovered nearby, scanning for additional contamination. That Yilnath stood in the hallway, all 4 arms crossed, looking like she'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. It dissolved the table, she said flatly. To be fair, it's really good whiskey, Patrick offered. It dissolved. The table. Given enough time, water can erode stone, so this took seconds. Patrick had no good response to that, doctor. Fenn reviewed the data from her safe distance. The spill compromised the protective coating in under 5 seconds. Full penetration of the polymer layer in 12 seconds. The metal beneath shows corrosion patterns consistent with exposure to concentrated acid. It's 40% alcohol, Patrick said. The other 60% is water and flavor compounds. The flavor compounds include wood tannins, phenols, and esters, Dr. Fenn read, many of which are caustic to non-human tissue. Rin crept closer, her curiosity apparently stronger than her survival instinct. Human Patrick, You intended to drink this? Well, yeah. Me and Dave were going to share it. Maybe invite a few other folks. Make a night of it. A night of consuming corrosive compounds, Quan said, returning now that the hazmat team had declared the area safe. This is madness. It's tradition, Patrick corrected. Humans have been making whiskey for hundreds of years. That doesn't make it less dangerous, Yilnath pointed out. Actually, I have a question, Rin said. She pulled up a medical display. I've been reviewing human biology data. Your livers process these compounds. But I found something interesting. Human blood also contains ethanol naturally. Small amounts, but measurable. Dr. Finn checked her own scans. She's right. Even humans who claim they don't drink alcohol show trace amounts of ethanol in their bloodstream. That's from gut bacteria, David called out from his containment. Our digestive systems produce small amounts during normal operation. It's completely natural. Your bodies produce their own intoxicant. Quan sounded faint. Tiny amounts. Not enough to feel. You evolved to be constantly under the influence of industrial solvent, Dr. Finn said slowly, like she was trying to convince herself this was real. When you put it that way, it sounds weird. It is weird. Patrick raised a hand. Can I ask something? You all keep calling our drinks dangerous and corrosive. But has anyone actually been hurt? Like physically injured by us having coffee or whatever? Yilnath considered this. No direct injuries. But we've had 7 cases of respiratory irritation from proximity to your beverages. 12 reports of sensor malfunctions. For panic attacks. And now we have property damage from your whiskey. But no one's actually hurt. Because we instituted safety protocols immediately, Quan said. The question is why you aren't hurt. Your species consumes these substances regularly and shows no ill effects. Maybe we're just built different, Patrick suggested. Yes, Dr. Finn said. That's exactly the problem. You're built so differently that your normal is our hazardous. How do we accommodate that? Rin was still studying the data. I think I understand now. Humans come from Earth. Earth is classified as a death world. The atmosphere has high oxygen, which is reactive and corrosive over time. The surface experiences extreme temperature swings. The native life is highly competitive and often toxic. Humans didn't just survive that environment. They thrived in it. They evolved to handle constant low-level chemical stress. So drinking coffee or whiskey is nothing compared to just breathing on Earth, David added. Precisely, Rin said. Your bodies are already adapted to process toxins constantly. What we see as dangerous chemicals, you see as mild variations on your normal state. Minister Quan sat down slowly. This information needs to reach the Galactic Council immediately. We're not dealing with a species that's careless with dangerous substances. We're dealing with a species that fundamentally experiences chemistry differently than everyone else. Are we in trouble? Patrick asked. That depends, Yilnath said. Can you survive without these beverages? David and Patrick looked at each other. I mean, technically yes, David said. We can drink water, but you prefer not to, Dr. Finn stated. Water's boring, Patrick admitted. Water is safe, Quan countered. Water is bland. Water doesn't melt tables. Okay, that's a fair point. Patrick conceded that Yilnath made a decision. I'm calling an emergency council session. Until then, all human beverages except pure water are restricted. No exceptions. What about food? David asked, because I should probably mention that some of our food is also kind of intense. Every official turned to look at him. Define intense, Quan said carefully. Well, there's hot sauce. And pickled things. Oh, and aged cheese can be pretty strong. Some of it has mold in it on purpose. You eat mold. Dr. Finn's voice went up 3 octaves. Good mold. The tasty kind. Yilnath put her face in her hands. All 4 of them. Cancel my meetings for the rest of the week, she told her assistant. We're going to be here a while. Patrick looked at the melted table and the foam-covered whiskey bottle. For what it's worth, he said, that was a really expensive bottle. If we're going to waste it anyway, seems a shame not to at least taste it first. The silence that followed was profound. Get him back to containment, Yilnath ordered, before he suggests something worse. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session exactly 18 hours after the whiskey incident. Representatives from 12 species gathered via hologram, filling the chamber with a rainbow of alien forms. At the center of it all, Commander Yilnath stood with her evidence compiled and her patience nearly gone. The human crew, all 15 of them, sat in a designated area behind another transparent barrier. David and Patrick were there, along with people they'd barely talked to before. Maintenance workers, engineers, a botanist, 2 medical techs, all looking confused about why their lunch habits had become a diplomatic crisis. This council recognizes Commander Yilnath of Station Gamma 7, the Arbiter announced. Present your case. Yilnath activated her display. Chemical formulas filled the air. Honor Council members, 3 months ago, we welcomed humans to our station as part of the integration program. In that time, we've discovered that standard human dietary practices pose significant safety concerns. She brought up images of David's locker. These are beverages, drinks that humans consume daily, sometimes multiple times per day. Analysis shows they contain compounds we classify as industrial solvents, oxidizing agents, and corrosive substances. A representative from the aquatic Delphi delegation raised a tentacle. Surely the humans didn't know these were dangerous. They know, Yilnath said. They simply don't care. Because to them, these substances aren't dangerous. She played footage of Patrick's whiskey dissolving the table. The council chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. Order, the Arbiter called. Commander, are you suggesting humans deliberately weaponize their diet? No, Arbiter. I'm suggesting they come from an environment so hostile that what we consider weapons, they consider refreshments. David raised his hand. Can I say something? The Arbiter looked surprised that the humans could speak for themselves. You may address the council. David stood, looking uncomfortable under the gaze of a dozen species. Look, we're not trying to be difficult. We're just from Earth. We drink coffee because it helps us wake up. We drink soda because it tastes good. We drink alcohol because it helps us relax. It's not a weapon thing. It's a cultural thing. Your culture involves consuming toxins, a reptilian council member stated. I guess. But from our perspective, everything's kind of toxic if you think about it. The air on Earth has oxygen, which technically causes oxidation damage over time. The sun gives off radiation. Plants produce defensive chemicals. Animals have venom. We evolved to deal with all of that. So drinking coffee doesn't seem like a big deal. Rin stepped forward, data pad in hand. If I may, Arbiter, I've been researching Earth. It's classified as a Type 7 death world. Gravity 0.13 times standard. Oxygen levels at 21%, which would be toxic to 6 species here. Temperature ranges from -80 to +50 Celsius in various regions. The planet experiences violent weather, tectonic activity, and aggressive biological competition. She pulled up images of Earth. Hurricanes, volcanoes, predators chasing prey across savannas, humans climbing mountains and diving into oceans. Humans didn't just survive this environment, Rin continued. They became its dominant species. They adapted to handle chemical stress, physical extremes, and biological threats. Their bodies are essentially built to be resilient against things that would kill most of us. So they're biologically dangerous, the reptilians said. No, Rin countered. They're biologically resilient. There's a difference. The botanist from the human group stood up. Her name was Amy, and she'd been growing plants in the station's agriculture section. Can I show you something? The Arbiter nodded. Amy pulled out a small red pepper. This is a jalapeno. It's a food plant from Earth. Humans eat these. She broke it open. Even through the barrier, some council members recoiled. This contains capsaicin, Amy explained. It's a chemical that binds to pain receptors. It literally makes you feel like you're burning. Most animals avoid it. Humans seek it out. We put in our food on purpose. Some people eat peppers 100 times stronger than this one, just for fun. You eat pain, Dr. Finn said weakly from her seat. We enjoy pain. In the right context, Amy corrected. Spicy food, hot showers, exercise, saunas. We find pleasure in things that cause mild stress to our systems. Another human, a medical tech named Luis, stood. I brought something too. He held up a brown block. This is chocolate. It contains theobromine, which is toxic to many Earth species. Dogs and cats can die from eating it. Humans love it. We give as gifts. We celebrate with it. And this, said Patrick, because apparently he couldn't help himself, is cheese. He produced a wedge wrapped in cloth. It's made from milk that's been deliberately infected with bacteria and aged for months or years. Some cheeses have mold growing in them. We consider it a delicacy. The council stared. You eat rotted milk, the Delphi representative said. Aged milk, Patrick corrected. With cultures. That's worse. Minister Kwan, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. The real question is what we do with this information. Humans are here. More will come. We can't ban their entire diet. That would be discrimination. But we also can't ignore safety protocols. Maybe we're looking at this wrong, Rin suggested. We're treating humans like they're dangerous. But what if they're actually valuable because of these traits? How so? The arbiter asked. Think about it. Humans can survive in environments we can't. They can process chemicals we can't. They can eat foods we can't. That doesn't make them a threat. It makes them uniquely suited for tasks we find impossible. David nodded. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We just want to do our jobs and live our lives. If our coffee bothers people, we can drink it in designated areas. If our food is too much, we can eat in separate facilities. We can compromise. The question, Yilnath said, is whether we want to, or whether we want to learn from each other instead. The council debated for 2 hours. Representatives argued about safety protocols, cultural sensitivity, and biological ethics. The humans sat quietly, occasionally sharing snacks that made the nearby guards nervous. Finally, the arbiter called for order. This council has reached a decision. Humans will not be classified as biological hazards. However, new protocols will be established. Human dietary substances must be clearly labeled. Consumption areas will be designated. Other species will be educated about human biology to prevent panic. And humans will be required to brief station commanders on their dietary needs before assignment. That seems fair, David said. Additionally, the arbiter continued, we recognize that human resilience may be an asset. We propose a trial program where humans are considered for assignments involving environmental extremes or chemical hazards. Voluntary only. The humans looked at each other. You mean like hazmat work? Patrick asked. Among other things. Your biology gives you advantages. It would be foolish not to use them. Luis laughed. So, we went from being called dangerous to being recruited for dangerous jobs. Is that not what you wanted? The arbiter asked. Actually, David said, that sounds pretty good. At least you're not trying to ban our coffee anymore. The coffee is still restricted to designated areas, Kwan said firmly. I don't ever want to smell that again without proper ventilation. Deal, David agreed. The council adjourned. The barrier around the humans lowered. Species that had been terrified hours ago now approached cautiously, asking questions. What did coffee taste like? How hot was too hot? Could humans really eat mold? Rin ended up with a crowd around her, showing scans of human biology and explaining adaptation. Dr. Finn reluctantly admitted the human medical techs might have insights into chemical resistance that could help her research. Commander Yilnath found David as the crowd dispersed. No more surprises, she said. Please, I'll do my best, Commander. That's what worries me. David grinned and headed back to his quarters, already looking forward to his first cup of coffee in 2 days. Behind him, the galaxy adjusted to a new reality. Humans were here. They were strange. They were resilient. And they really, really loved their beverages. 3 weeks after the council decision, David sat in the newly designated human consumption zone with a fresh cup of coffee and a sense that life was getting back to normal. The zone was essentially a cordoned section of the cafeteria with extra ventilation, warning signs, and curious aliens watching from a safe distance. Patrick joined him with an energy drink. Still feels weird being the station attraction. Could be worse, David said. At least they're not trying to study us anymore. About that, Dr. Finn's voice came from behind them. She wheeled her tank over, keeping a respectful distance. I was hoping to ask you both some questions. Purely educational. Sure, David said. What do you want to know? I've been compiling a guide for medical staff about human biology, but I'm stuck on something. You mentioned having drinks that are stronger than what we've seen. I need to understand the full range for safety purposes. Patrick perked up. Oh, you mean like the really strong stuff? If by really strong, you mean potentially lethal to other species, then yes. David pulled out his datapad. Okay, so coffee ranges from light to dark roast. Caffeine content varies. Then you've got espresso, which is more concentrated. Energy drinks can have anywhere from 80 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per serving. 300, Dr. Finn repeated, making notes. That would cause system failure in Delphi within minutes. For us, it just means you might not sleep great, Patrick said. And alcohol, beer, is usually around 5%. Wine 12 to 15%. Spirits start at 40% and go up from there. Up? How far up? Well, there's stuff like Everclear that's 95%, David said casually. Doctor Finn's tank water literally rippled. 95% pure ethanol. It's not that popular. Too strong even for most humans. But it exists. Rin appeared from the crowd of onlookers. May I join you? Sure, David said. Pull up a chair. She settled her insectoid form onto a specially designed seat. I've been thinking about your beverages. From a scientific standpoint, I find them fascinating. Would it be possible to try one? Everyone stared at her. Rin, that's a terrible idea, Dr. Fenn said. I've run simulations. A heavily diluted sample should be safe. I want to understand what humans experience. Consider it an experiment in cross-cultural understanding. Patrick looked at David. David shrugged. Your call, but I don't want to be responsible if something goes wrong. I accept full responsibility, Rin said. Dr. Fenn, would you supervise from a medical standpoint? The doctor sighed, but pulled up her medical scanner. Fine. But we start with the mildest option and the smallest possible amount. David considered his options. Orange juice? It's just fruit juice. Vitamin C, natural sugars, citric acid. Citric acid, Dr. Fenn noted, which is used in cleaning solutions, but relatively mild compared to your other choices. Acceptable. David poured a tiny amount, maybe half a teaspoon, into a cup. Then he diluted it with water until it was barely colored. This is like 1 part juice to 20 parts water. Rin leaned forward. How do I consume it? Just sip it slowly. She extended her proboscis and took the smallest possible taste. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then Rin's antennae vibrated rapidly. Her compound eyes widened. She made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Rin, Dr. Finn scanned her frantically. Are you all right? I am experiencing sensations, Rin said, her voice buzzing with excitement. The citric acid activates taste receptors I didn't know I had. There's sweetness, but also sharpness. Temperature. Complexity. This is incredible. You like it? Patrick asked. It's overwhelming, but not unpleasant. Is all human food this intense? That's literally the mildest thing we have, David said. And we diluted it heavily. Remarkable. Rin sat back, antennae still quivering. Human sensory experience must be extraordinarily rich. Or perhaps you're just adapted to intensity we can't normally process. More aliens had gathered, watching the experiment. A few looked intrigued. Most looked horrified. Anyone else want to try? Patrick asked the crowd. Universal rejection. Head shakes, tentacle waves, and several species backing away. Can't blame them, David said. We probably seem insane. You are insane, Dr. Finn confirmed. But perhaps usefully so. An announcement crackled over the station's communication system. Code Yellow, Section 15. Chemical Speed. Requesting hazmat team. Yilnath's voice followed immediately. All human personnel report to briefing room immediately. David and Patrick exchanged glances and ran. The briefing room filled quickly. All 15 humans from the station gathered, along with Yilnath, several security officers, and emergency response coordinators. We have a situation, Yilnath began without preamble. A cargo ship docked an hour ago with damaged containers. They've leaked industrial coolant throughout 3 sections. The compound is toxic to every species on this station. Except, Our analysis suggests possibly humans. She brought up a chemical diagram. This is the spill composition. Cross-referencing with your biological data indicates your livers can process it. Your mucous membranes should resist it. You might experience mild irritation, but nothing life-threatening. You want us to clean it up? Louise said. I want to ask if you're willing to. We can send in robots, but they're slow and we have injured personnel trapped in the contaminated zones. People who need immediate medical attention. With humans, we could execute a rescue in minutes instead of hours. The humans looked at each other. What kind of irritation are we talking about? Amy asked the doctor. Finn pulled up projections. Watery eyes, possibly some coughing. Skin contact might cause redness. All temporary. Your bodies should neutralize the exposure within hours. So like chopping onions, Patrick said. I suppose that's one comparison. David stood. I'll do it. Me too, Patrick added. Within seconds, every human in the room had volunteered, but Yilnath looked surprised. You understand this is dangerous. Even for you. You said people are trapped, Amy said. So we help them. That's not complicated. Plus, David added with a slight smile, you literally just told us we're uniquely suited for this. Might as well prove the council right about us being useful. 20 minutes later, David wore a basic protective suit, more for the trapped alien's peace of mind than his own safety. He entered Section 15 with Patrick and 4 other humans, following sensor readings to where 3 Centaurans were trapped behind a collapsed maintenance panel. The air inside was thick with chemical vapor. David's eyes watered immediately, and his throat felt scratchy. But it was manageable, like standing near a campfire when the wind shifted. Over here, Patrick called. They found the trapped crew, all unconscious from exposure. Medical team, we've got them. David reported over his comm, stand by for extraction. The humans worked quickly, moving debris and carrying the injured to the safe zone. What would have taken robots 2 hours took them 12 minutes. They emerged. Medical teams rushed forward to treat the Centaurans. Dr. Finn scanned the human rescue team. You're all showing minor irritation, exactly as predicted, she said, sounding almost proud. Rest, hydration, and you'll be fine by tomorrow. Yilnath approached David. That was well done. All of you. Just doing our jobs, Commander. No, she said. You went into an environment that would kill most of us to save people you barely know. That's more than a job. Rin appeared, her earlier excitement now mixed with something like respect. I understand now why your species drinks such extreme beverages. You're adapted to extremes in everything. Environment, chemistry, behavior. You don't just survive intensity. You thrive in it. David shrugged. We're from Earth. Everything there wants to kill you. So you either get tough or you don't make it. Guess we got tough. And fortunate for us, Yilnath said. The council wanted to know if humans could be useful. Today you proved it. Patrick wiped his eyes, which were still streaming. Can we prove it over coffee? Because I really need coffee right now. Designated area only, Yilnath reminded him. Worth it. As they walked to the human consumption zone, other species moved aside, but now it wasn't from fear. It was from respect. The crazy beings who drank industrial solvents had just saved lives using those same extreme tolerances, David smiled. Maybe being the station's resident chemical hazard wasn't so bad after all. 2 months after the rescue, Station Gamma 7 operated with a new rhythm. The human consumption zone had become a regular gathering spot, not just for humans, but for curious aliens who wanted to observe and learn. Rin had started what she called the Extreme Beverage Appreciation Society, though she still only tried heavily diluted samples. David was finishing his shift when Commander Yilnath's voice came through on his communicator. David, Patrick, report to my office. We have a situation. They arrived to find Yilnath looking stressed and a holographic display showing a cargo vessel in distress. This is the merchant ship Prosperity Dawn, she explained. They had an accident in transit. Their cargo hold ruptured, and now the entire ship is contaminated with a mix of industrial chemicals. The crew evacuated to life pods, but the ship's automated systems are failing. If we don't stabilize it in the next 6 hours, it'll drift into a shipping lane and cause a collision. What kind of chemicals? Patrick asked. Yilnath pulled up the analysis. Cleaning solvents, coolant fluids, a type of acid used in manufacturing, and several compounds we can't identify. The mixture creates a vapor that's lethal to every known species at current concentrations. David studied the readings. Every known species except humans. Our models suggest you could survive in that environment for several hours, long enough to manually reset the navigation systems and get the ship to a safe trajectory. You're asking us to board a ship full of poison, Patrick said. I'm asking if you're willing to. This is volunteer only. No pressure. David looked at Patrick. They talked about this possibility after the rescue, about being the ones who could go where others couldn't. What's the pay like for hazmat work? David asked. Yilnath almost smiled. Double your current rate, plus hazard bonus. I'm in, Patrick said immediately. Same. David agreed. 4 hours later, they were suited up in heavy protective gear, more for the mechanical hazards than the chemical ones. The shuttle approached the drifting cargo ship, its hull venting wisps of toxic vapor into space. Remember, Dr. Finn's voice came through their helmets. You have 6 hours of safe exposure based on our models. But those are estimates. If you feel seriously impaired, abort the mission. Got it, Doc, David said. We'll be careful. The shuttle docked. They entered through an airlock and immediately encountered the contaminated atmosphere. Even through their helmets, they could smell it. Sharp, acrid, like a combination of bleach, paint thinner, and burning rubber. That's unpleasant, Patrick commented. Yeah, but manageable. Let's move. They made their way through corridors filled with chemical fog. Warning lights flashed. Automated voices warned of contamination in 6 languages. The ship felt like a ghost town, abandoned to its own slow death. Navigation control should be 3 decks up, David said, checking his map. They climbed through access shafts, their boots clanging on metal grating. The vapor grew thicker. David's eyes watered and his throat burned, but it was tolerable, like the worst allergy season combined with a campfire smoke. You okay? He asked Patrick. My head hurts a little, but I'm good. You? About the same. They reached navigation control. The room was a disaster. Screens flickered with error messages. Several panels had shorted out. The main computer core blinked red. Okay, Patrick said, pulling up the repair manual on his datapad. We need to reset the core, recalibrate the guidance system, and manually input a safe trajectory. I'll handle the core. You get the guidance system. They worked in practice coordination. David had done electrical repairs for years. This was just another job, except the air was trying to kill him, and his eyes wouldn't stop crying. Back on the station, Dr. Finn monitored their vital signs. Heart rates elevated but stable. Respiratory function good. Minor inflammation markers, but nothing critical. How long have they been in there? Yilnath asked. 43 minutes. They're barely started, Rin observed. She'd insisted on being present for the mission. But they're maintaining function in conditions that would have killed me in seconds. On the ship, David finished the core reset. Patrick, how's the guidance system? Almost there. These controls are designed for tentacles, not fingers. Give me 2 more minutes. Take your time. We're good on air, and the chemicals aren't that bad. Not that bad, Dr. Finn repeated to herself. They're swimming in industrial waste and call it not that bad. They're from Earth, Rin reminded her. Their baseline for bad is already extreme. Patrick completed the calibration. Guidance system online. Inputting trajectory now. He entered the coordinates that would send the ship to a salvage depot. The computer accepted them and began firing maneuvering thrusters. Trajectory confirmed, the ship's automated voice announced. Navigation control restored. We did it, David said. Station, this is the away team. Mission accomplished. The ship is under control. Cheers erupted in the station control room. Outstanding work, Yilnath said. Return to the shuttle and get out of there. They made their way back, moving faster now that the pressure was off. David noticed his headache was getting worse and his vision was slightly blurry. Patrick was coughing more. We definitely pushed our limits, Patrick admitted as they sealed the airlock. Worth it though. We saved the ship. The shuttle ride back felt longer than it was. By the time they docked at Gamma 7, both of them were exhausted and shaky. Doctor Finn met them in medical, scanning them immediately. Elevated toxin levels, as expected. Inflammation in respiratory system. Minor neurological effects from prolonged exposure. But nothing permanent. You'll feel rough for a day or two, then make a full recovery. So we're good? David asked. You're remarkably good, considering you spent 2 hours in an environment that would have been instantly fatal to most species. News of the rescue spread through the station within hours. The humans who'd been seen as dangerous oddities were now being called heroes. The cargo company sent a formal thank you and a significant payment. The Galactic Safety Commission requested a full report on human chemical tolerance for their databases. That evening, David and Patrick sat in the human consumption zone, both nursing cups of coffee and looking pretty rough. Their eyes were bloodshot, their voices hoarse, and they moved slowly. Rin approached with what looked like concern. Should you be drinking coffee? Given your exposure today, Doc cleared us for normal activities, David said. Coffee is normal. Normal for you, she corrected. I've been thinking about that word a lot lately. Normal. What's normal for humans is extraordinary for everyone else. Not extraordinary, Patrick said. Just different. You risked your lives today. We did our jobs, David corrected. Yeah, it was dangerous. But someone had to do it, and we were the only ones who could. That's not heroic. That's just practical. Commander Yilnath joined them, carrying a data pad. I had a proposal for you both. The Galactic Safety Commission wants to establish a rapid response team for chemical emergencies. They're asking for human volunteers. Full training, excellent pay, and you'd be based here but available for deployment across the sector. Hazmat full-time? Patrick asked. Essentially, you'd be doing what you did today, but officially. David and Patrick looked at each other. Can we still do regular maintenance work? David asked. I actually like fixing things. The position would be as needed. Between emergencies, you maintain your normal duties. And we can still have our coffee. Patrick added that Yilnath laughed. Your coffee is now officially recognized as an occupational necessity. Designated areas will be maintained wherever you're stationed. Then I'm in, David said. Me too, Patrick agreed. Over the following weeks, the program expanded. More humans joined the station, specifically recruited for their chemical resilience. The human consumption zone became officially recognized in station regulations. Dr. Finn published her research on human biology to widespread acclaim. Rin's Appreciation Society grew to include members from 8 species, all carefully studying human culture. 6 months after the initial coffee incident, David stood in the same maintenance corridor where all started. He had his thermos, same as always, but now it had a special seal on it, marking it as authorized hazmat equipment. Amy found him there. Remembering when this all began? Yeah, weird how things work out. We went from being scary to being useful, just by being ourselves. That's the thing about humans, Amy said. We don't try to be exceptional. We just do what we've always done. Survive, adapt, help others when we can. And drink coffee, David added, taking a sip. And drink coffee, she agreed as a proximity alarm chimed. Another ship was docking, this one carrying a new group of human recruits for the hazmat program. Fresh faces ready to discover that their everyday tolerances were galactic superpowers. Dr. Finn met the new arrivals with information packets and medical scanners. Rin was there too, eager to study more human behavioral patterns. Commander Yilnath supervised everything with the practiced ease of someone who'd learned to expect the unexpected from her human crew. David watched them arrive and smiled. The galaxy had been afraid of humans at first. Afraid of their toxic tolerance, their chemical-laden diet, their bizarre resilience. But fear had given way to understanding, and understanding had led to cooperation. Humans weren't dangerous. They were just built for a dangerous world. And in a galaxy full of hazards that made them exactly the right people for the job. That he finished his coffee and headed back to work. Somewhere in the